Hey, this is Shaheen with Podcast Cola. We are one of the premier podcasting agencies in the country with offices in Los Angeles, New York, and all around the country and the world. And what we do is we get people booked on amazing top podcasts all across the country and, in fact, all over the world, guaranteed. So, the thing I wanted to talk to you about today is what I've learned from doing over 250 podcasts myself. And the way that I actually started is interesting because I launched my book, Billion How I Became King of the Throw Pill Cult. I was super excited about this book. I wanted to use the book as a medium to get a major motion picture deal, which I got, and also as an avenue for me to do public speaking, which, as you can see in the video in the background, I got the opportunity to speak to over 10,000 people on stage, which was super exciting. And the book became an Amazon bestseller and a bestseller in a whole bunch of places. So super excited about that. But how did I do it and what did I learn? Okay. So the first thing that I learned, which is very interesting, is in the early days, I hired an agency to represent me and they weren't really getting the results that I wanted. I was getting 1, 2 podcasts a month. It was no good. So I had to let them go. And I decided, hey, let me try to do this myself. And when I did it myself, I was actually getting better results than the agency, but still not quite what I needed to get. I wasn't getting the quality of shows, the caliber of shows, and the quantity of shows. And so I decided to hire a couple publicists and train them myself in the algorithms that I learned, in the techniques that I learned for booking podcasts. And what I actually did was I got them to represent me. We formed a company. And so they started representing me. And then I noticed that using our algorithms and the relationships that I had built over time, plus having somebody else represent me rather than me representing myself, that increased our conversions 100 times. And I started getting booked literally on hundreds of shows. And I've done over 250 by now, some top tier shows like Adam Carolla's show, which I did, and Bradley, and some of the other big spectacular shows. And I've done mid-tier shows and a few lower level shows as well with engaged audiences and meaningful viewership. So what are some of the things that I've learned, or one of the most important things that I've learned? So the first thing is you want to make sure that if you are putting the time and the energy out, that you look professional. You've got a good microphone set up, you've got a good video set up, and that you are dressed the part for what you want to do. Dark colors like what I'm wearing tend to show very well. And I'll produce another video telling you guys all the details. And if you want to reach out to us, if you haven't already had a consultation with us, have a consult, and I'm happy for free over a 15-minute consult to go over all the little tips, tricks, and hacks to looking great when you're doing podcasts and the equipment that you need. And it's very minimal equipment that you need, but you do need to have a good mic and a good camera and some good headphones, just the bare minimum, and a light or two. So, all right, with that said, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite hacks, and it's a mindset and it's a hack too. And the first thing is, regardless of the show's audience, you want to think about doing podcasts as creating content. You are making the move to become an authority in your set niche. You're going to be put above all the other people in your niche because you now have this authority piece. You've been on this show, on this podcast, and they have interviewed you. Just like when I'm pitching myself, it's not very good, but when somebody reputable pitches me, it's much more believable and credible because someone's telling you how awesome, someone's telling them how awesome you are. Similarly, by you doing these shows and having somebody else interview you, they're telling the world that you are the authority and how awesome you are. So just by the virtue of being on a show and speaking on a topic, you become an authority. And you exercise what I like to think of as pull marketing, where you pull the sales to you rather than pushing sales down people's throats, which is not what we want to do. Okay. So the thing you want to do in every single podcast that you go on is when you first come onto the Zoom or the Riverside or the StreamYard or whatever the platform is that they're using, you introduce yourself to the show host and you say, hey, I would love to promote clips of this and possibly even the whole show on my own podcast. would you be okay if I recorded this locally? Or when you're done, send me the raw file so my team can edit it. What's that do? That gives you access and permission to the content that you're producing. And by the way, 99% of show hosts allow this because it's in their benefit. They would love to have you take their content and to promote it. So it's an awesome thing. And I really strongly recommend you doing that. So you just ask them in a friendly way. And if they say no, that's fine. But in all my years, I've only gotten one no, and that was from somebody that was a little. So NT ways. Here's what you want to do. Ask for permission and say, hey, if you don't mind, I would love to record this locally and give me permission. And I usually walk them through it. I say, hey, in Zoom, go to participants. Under participants, there'll be an option for more, and you can say allow to record local files. If that doesn't work, they can just make you a co-host. And if none of that works, you can just send them a reminder email asking them to send you a copy of the raw files, video and audio. And then what you do is this, which is really fascinating. And by the way, if you become a Podcast Cola client or you're a Podcast Cola client, reach out to us. We've got an amazing team that can do this for you for pennies on the dollar. And it'll be cheaper than anything that you can do if you have to hire someone, certainly locally, but even overseas. We've got amazing people that'll do this for you. It's not part of our core offerings, so we just do it mostly at cost just to help you. Our core offerings is actually getting you booked on the shows, which is what we focus on. We like to stay in our lane and just do that. But there's an amazing software called Otter.ai, and you can get a free version of it. It's very cheap. It's, I think, $5 a month or something like that. What Otter does is it will take any audio from a video or an audio recording and turn it into a transcript. Why is that important? Okay, let me show you. So the reason why that ends up being important is because, there we go, my website. You can take that content and make it searchable on your own website. So I have been on hundreds of shows right now, and you can see these are other people's shows that I've been on, talking about my book, talking about our service, talking about Podcast Cola, basically anything that we do. And one of the cool things that you will notice, so let's go down. There are quite a few of shows that I've been on. But if you go down to the shows, like, okay, so here's one with Shark Tank, Sharkpreneur, Seth Green, who's a great show. We put it up on the back end of the site. But look, we're taking that Otter AI transcript with the keywords and all the notes. So everything that you say on this 1 hour show, on this 15-minute show, on this 20-minute show now becomes searchable on the internet. It's super awesome. And one of the greatest ways to share your information and make your information searchable and findable on the web. Because remember, audio isn't searchable on the internet. So by putting this out, you make your site an authority site. It kicks up the SEO on your site dramatically, and it makes you an authority. So if I'm looking at something about smart drugs or serial entrepreneurship, right, and I search that in Google, now I'm going to find your site. So you really want to try to do that on every show that you get booked on. And that's one of the greatest hacks. Now, the second hack is that you can have your own podcast, and how you do that without having a single show that you produce. And as I'm sure you've found out, and I'll talk about this in a separate video too, you start your own podcast and you can use a service like Podbean or Anchor. We like to use Podbean because it's a great distribution network to distribute your show. And again, we've got qualified VAs and publicists that can do that for you if you like, for a flat monthly fee. If you become a client. So please reach out to us if that's something you want to do, or you could hire somebody yourself to do it outside of Podcast Cola. We welcome you to do that as well. And what you want to do is you want to start a podcast, and then all of these shows that you do for other people, you get permission and you can cut them into 2-3 shows, make clips, maybe take an hour show and make it into 2 or 3 15-minute shows where you're cutting and editing and putting your own header in there, and you make that your own podcast. Some amazing podcast people now have caught on to the same tactic. Richard Koch, author of 80-20 Principle, one of my all-time heroes, and and one of the greatest business thinkers of our time, does this. Alex Hormozy, who's catching a lot of credit now online, who's become a big influencer on the internet, is also doing that, where he's producing a little bit less content, but producing content for other people's shows and then aggregating it on his own podcast. So when you go to his podcast, you'll see, man, this guy's done 500 podcast episodes, but really he's done much fewer than that, because he's just taking shows that he's done for other people, cutting them and putting them on his own podcast. So that's a great hack. Who are we? Once again, we are Podcast Cola, and we actually get you booked on those shows, guaranteed. We have a flat, transparent rate. We're very easy to work with. We've got guaranteed results, money back guarantee. We've got amazing relationships with thousands of podcasts. And if it's something that you think you're interested in, please go to podcastcola.com, go to the book a call link, and book a call with us if you're not already a client. If you are a client, just reach out to us. Our team is always here to help and support you in best practices and getting you booked on shows. If there's anything else you think you would like us to talk about in coming days on this show or others, please let us know. But I'll look forward to talking to you. And hey, don't be afraid to get on the phone with us and have a free 15-minute consultation. Absolutely no cost, no obligation. I love talking to new and interesting people who have interesting products or services, and to discuss, at the very least, a strategy for how we can make you successful on podcasts. And if we can't help you, I'll let you know that. I can at least leave you at the end of that 15-minute call with a strategy moving forward that maybe you can implement yourself, maybe by hiring some people overseas or hiring someone locally in your company, assigning somebody locally in your company to do that for you. I've done that before with people. But our goal and our mission is to help people find empowerment and sell their products and services through what I believe is one of the greatest mediums of our time, podcasting. It's the highest ROI for any type of marketing, any type of advertising. And as we're recording this right now, podcasts are blowing up. So go to Podcast Cola, book a call with us, click on the book a call link, and get on our calendar and have a free 15-minute, no obligation call. Looking forward to meeting you. I'd love to talk to you more about you, your products, your services, and see how we could possibly get you going on those.